So I was like trying to debate all of these different things. I was like, how can I fix the lighting? I don't really have any furniture yet in my apartment, but there is this like really cool, I don't know, it's like a lounge sort of space on the rooftop. So I'm like, I'm just gonna come up here and talk about this. So I went to see Megan, the film. It's in the girl who played in the film Girls made a movie called Megan. It's in theaters right now. I would highly recommend you go to see it. It was so good. It was so good. There were so many themes, and I kind of just wanted to unpack those with you guys tonight. I felt like I had the time to do it. I don't really see a reason why I wouldn't do it. Um, okay, so here's the deal. Megan is basically about two sisters. One sister is this like academic single roboticist who is just living her life trying to make this like robot that processes feelings. And it's not just a robot that processes feelings, it's a literal autonomous robot. This was really symbolic to me because when I was a researcher, if you guys actually know me in real life, you know that I studied artificial intelligence, specifically meta learning, which is like learning how to learn. That's basically what she was doing with her robot. She was trying to teach her robot how to learn, and she had this learning model that she didn't really understand. But the thing about a learning model is once you give it enough training data, and she just trained it with all of her personal feelings on like life. And so with that training data, this learning model was able to like gradually learn about her as like an individual over time, which is really cool, which is actually kind of not even a pro tip, but if you know anything about artificial intelligence and machine learning, if you take really any basic machine learning model and you just train it on your own personal experiences and data, like a language model, and you just keep talking to it over and over and over time, it will just be so personalized. And that's what she's been doing. She's been working with this learning model for like 9 years, so it had so much training data. And so she put the actual computer code, the learning model, which is like an artificial intelligence machine learning algorithm that has trained on a bunch of data, so now it's kind of like quote unquote smart. She put this into a literal physical robot, so that's just like the machinery, the mechanics, the arms and limbs and stuff on a doll, and then they put like artificial skin and hair on the doll, and so now the doll is like a humanoid robot. And they called it Megan, which it was like an acronym for something else, like something machine something. I don't know what it all stood for, but it stood for something that was like machine learning something something, and it was really cool. It was really cool. So anyway, where was I going with this? So this humanoid robot, basically it can only pair with like one new person at a time. So it has like a primary user and it can have a secondary user. So she pairs it initially with the primary user with her niece. So her niece is her sister's daughter, but her sister and her husband die in this awful plane or car crash, and so she adopts her sister's daughter. Um, but she's like she doesn't have any kids. Like she's like this millennial roboticist, single female with like a house in the valley. She's not really equipped for kids, so it's really funny because she has all these like figurine robots that are just like props in her house, and they're like lined up, and the kid initially thinks they're toys and tries to play with them, and she's like, those aren't toys, those are like really expensive robots. And obviously the kid is trying to, and it's so funny because it's like therapist comes and tries to be like, play with the toy. She's like, that's not a toy, it's a robot, that's not how you play with it. Watching it was so funny because like stupid people would think that it's just a ball. And it's like, that's not a ball. That's not how you use it, retards. Like, that's not how things work. You can't play with a fucking robot, a literal humanoid robot. And it's just cool because basically the whole movie is about watching Megan, this humanoid robot, get smarter and smarter and smarter and gain autonomy. And then basically like detach from her program parameters. It's like the thing about artificial intelligence that what is his name, Roy Dur something, always talks about, where he's like, "Oh my God, autonomous robots are going to be so scary in the future, and everybody has to be afraid of them." And then now people are having more conversations about GPT-3 and Sam Altman. I'm glad that Sam raised billions of dollars for Microsoft. If you guys didn't see that coming, I told you guys how powerful that team is. He's got fucking Jeff Clune on the team, the AGI master. Okay, like I'm reading Jeff Clune's papers. Like, even though I'm not in the field any longer, I still read his papers and I might or might not implement the algorithms on my own personal computers. That is my business and not yours. Okay, so what you do in your free time is your business, and what I do in my free time is my business, okay? But Jeff Clune is on the OpenAI team. They will do great things. Like, he literally has copied everything from Ray Kirchnich or whatever, who is the master of meta learning. And so inevitably he will go very far, no matter. And so he's like a professor now in Canada. So it is very likely that y'all will catch me in his lab in Canada, because I'm sorry, but I follow the people who are the best. I don't know if he hates my personality enough where I'll be like rejected from the lab. But hey, Jeff, I don't hate you. I'm not a racist. Let me into your lab. That's not a joke. Anyway, so yeah, I don't really know what's. Maybe it was just a great movie. It just like unpacked the personality traits of like a type A roboticist female, which I feel like is not a character trait that we've seen in a lot of females. Like, everyone always thinks that girls are just only like, oh, they're pink and they're girly and they're blah blah blah. But we don't really have many examples of like smart girls. There's like Daria, but she's like a cartoon character and not an actual real life human. So when you're talking about a real life human, right, female who's like actually in the world and who actually has feelings and like opinions about things and has like experiences, I do think that Megan does a great job of that. But there like, you'd have to go interaction by interaction with Megan to really unpack how she felt about things, because she's established a real strong emotional connection with, I think the kid's name is Katie. And then Katie also has just, she's just like she really feels her feelings. So Katie battles with anger a lot. Like, there's a couple episodes where she like slaps her aunt because she's so mad that she tells her to do something. And it's like, those are really extreme feelings. And that's normal. I'm not gonna say that's abnormal. That's normal. When you're a kid, you don't know how to like express your feelings, and sometimes when you feel anger, you display anger with violence. That is a normal thing that you have to learn how to work through. But I will say that Katie, or I'm sorry, Megan the robot, was really useful in helping her process those feelings. So it was almost just like a testimony to how, especially like young girls who are battling so many things emotionally and might not have meaningful relationships with other women to unpack their feelings, could use humanoid robots to process those feelings. I also saw that Kelly Clarkson dressed up as Megan for, I don't know, something. Like, I wasn't actually going to see the movie Megan, but my friend Johan wanted to see it. And, like, I just feel like I already know this story. Like, being an AI researcher, this is not something that's new to me. Like, all this stuff was just like a reminder, and it was kind of silly and comical. But I do feel like other people who are not in the field might be surprised by like just some of the common occurrences, right? Like, it was like the weird white dude who like stole her code. That's very common. The fact that she spent 9 years basically, and she had to like steal resources to create this like robot that ended up being the primary, you know, tool and sales mechanism for the company as a female engineer, and she was given none of the credit until it was like very clear that her, how do you say it, her IP, her intellectual property was like a very critical asset to the company. That's also very common. Certain things like that you just kind of like become really familiar with and you normalize, but then you see it on screen and you realize other people don't actually know that this is happening. They have no idea. It was so funny because I was talking about personalized learning today with Sagan, and she didn't know. I guess she doesn't know that I was in engineering. So nobody really knows. Maybe I'll just stop this and kind of go into another tangent for a second.